BenFlyingRetro, and I'm embarking on a quest to purchase every classic GI Joe comic from the original 80s and 90s Marvel run.
Warning.
Hunting down individual issues from every corner of the globe in whatever order the universe decides to give me. Join me and my pal Steve every week as we discuss my latest find. Welcome to Chasing Joe. Chasing Joe. Whoa, it's Thursday afternoon. We are live with CJ, episode 35. I'm trying to sound like some kind of 60s DJ. I don't know. I've been watching way too much Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm BenFlyingRetro. I'm joined by SJub7. The Tash is growing. You're starting to look like a character we're going to meet in this week's issue. And that's what I'll say.
Damn, son. And I wanted to be a character out of a Tarantino movie. Maybe was it Super Sounds of the 70s?
Yes. Dude, I don't know if anyone can identify with this, but I have these seasons, and you never know when they're going to come, where I just deep dive something. I go full in. So could be music, could be books, films. I'm doing Tarantino at the moment, and I'm doing all of his films. But then in the days, I'm just listening to interviews and podcasts. I do these deep dives. Do you do that with anything? You never know when they're gonna start. It just
GI Joe
happens.
is eternal, and my deep dives are pretty shallow at this point.
No, you never have
curious,
like a.
what? Give us your top 3 factoids that you've learnt in these Tarantino interviews. He's a fascinating man to hear from.
Yeah, so I'm doing them all out of order. So at the moment, I've done Once Upon a Time in Hollywood like a bunch of times. Last night I did The Hateful Eight, one of my absolute favorites of his. I did Death Proof. Which is the one that no one really talks about, but there's some good stuff in there. Things I've learned, I don't know if I could just boil it down to like 3 interesting things. One thing I'll say is that he's a lot older than I thought.
Okay.
Like, he's a Gen Xer, like myself, but growing up with him, I always kind of felt like he was, I don't know, maybe 10 years older than me, but like, he's in his 60s. Like, he did.
I might just break your world a little bit, Ben, but you were born in 81 by my reckoning, right?
Yeah, so that's the last year of a Gen Xer. Don't you dare try and make me a millennial, S-Jubs. This is what Emma tries to do. I am Rambo, divorces, Gulf War, MTV.
Okay, but just temper that with the fact that you've
put me in a temper.
You've been heavily influenced by having an older sibling and his best mate as your, you inherited Chief.
Yeah, I did.
He was the sort of the leader of the pack.
That was my inheritance.
The oldest boy in your BMX gang.
Yes.
So yeah, look, you have claim to being a Gen Xer through them, just like I have claim to being a Gen Xer through my big bro.
Well, depending on
and skateboarding, man.
Depending on how you Google it, sometimes Gen X is like 65 to 81, and then millennials is like 82.
Well, we live in very fluid times. It's like whatever you identify as, man.
Don't
like,
you dare make me
12-year-old girl.
Don't Windows 95 me. I mean, just don't do this to me.
Right.
Why am I so desperate to cling on to a Gen Xer?
These are just labels, my friend. Like what you like.
Very much so.
GI Joe was past its prime when I jumped on board, but it didn't stop me.
It did not stop.
Was it a treasure trove to discover the back catalog, the back toys, like all the stuff that I missed out on? Whew.
Well, I thought you were going to say...
I was in a very fortunate position catching it late and thinking, this stuff is amazing. But then going back and being like, this stuff is more amazing.
Yeah, very much so. When you kept doing this and saying B things, I thought you were going to say Batwing. Batwing looks very lonely up there.
I know.
What's it doing? Is it hanging? Is it stuck? I can't work it out.
It's doing the move where it's flying up and, just for absolutely no reason at all. Just like making a silhouette against the moon. before stalling and plummeting earthwards to fire 3,000 rounds of armor-defeating ammunition at the Joker and hit nothing.
On People Who Play, my other podcast, Emma surprised me with a pop quiz, and it was a film score quiz where she'd just play the film score and I'd go. And I think I scared myself and her with the speed of, getting things from like one note. And she did Batman 89, the score, and I just got it sort of instantaneously. And I was like,
I'm sorry, that's not going to impress a guy like me.
I know, I've got so much kind of useless, it's the pop culture glue that I'm sort of stuck together with.
When you said that you were deep diving Tarantino and filling your ears with, my next thought was soundtracks, but you went interviews. His soundtracks
I'm doing
unearthing so much great funk and soul from like the 70s. Like,
yes,
my 30th birthday party was entirely scored by Tarantino soundtracks.
Well, look, I am a man that is currently, I'm just driving around the coast, driving around sandbanks, and I'm just listening to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood soundtrack, which is basically broken up with the radio DJ, the fake adverts. I've got the windows down. I am just pretending that it's 69 and I'm in LA. And it's great. Yeah.
He went back. I remember thinking to myself, like, this world is so fully realized. They've done so well to recreate 1960s, 70s Hollywood.
69.
69, okay. That I could have done with 2 hours of just sitting in the back seat.
Couldn't you?
Seeing this incredible, like,
so the disc jockey stuff that he gets from, I can't remember what the radio station's called, but there was no archive of this. They found some kid back in the day just hit record on like 90 minutes of the radio station. So it's actually baked into the songs. It's bizarre. Yeah,
so that gets you giddy. The idea of buried treasure.
I know that.
VHS
Imagine
tapes, cassettes, 8-tracks. People who've pulled stuff from the radio of the time.
Yeah,
that stuff is sitting in boxes.
I know.
In someone's attic.
I recorded a Star Wars documentary from like off of Radio 1 from like 1990 or something. And I just played it over and over. It was a podcast before podcast, just on my Walkman. Great.
Isn't it funny that we cling to the term podcast still, in spite of the fact that no one owns an iPod anymore?
That's truth. Yeah. iPods are actually quite retro. I mean,
hipster.
Yeah. Look, we're here. We got business to take care of on CJ35 on your FM dial. There I go again. Dude, your tash is, it's not off-putting, it's on-putting, but it is all I can see because it's an extension of your sort of mic. It's like...
here's my tin. Hello.
No, seriously, what are you going to do? What are you doing here? So you're still very much in the growth phase because
No, I'm not going for the full-on... This is as full as it's going to be.
Ambush. Sorry.
I mentioned last week it's for work. Work is still a maybe, but the very curious thing happened this past week, and that's
the curious case.
The curious case of the follicles. The wife, who is always opposed to facial hair, said, "Keep it," which is
the way you said
uncharted territory, my friends.
The way you said that, it sounded like you had multiple wives.
The wife, yes, this one who.
So the wife that says.
The wife, the one next door, that one right there, across this wall, says, "Keep the moustache." I'm like, okay.
Okay. Well, look, we've got the donations are coming thick and fast. Tom Donaldson has sent me something. Springsteen 83. Give him a follow. Let's see. Thank goodness for these donations. Saving my wallet. Let's see what he sent me.
Thomas Donaldson.
Yeah.
That was the jingle, I think.
I'm going to do a reveal. Let's do a reveal because I like that. So, okay, let's do bottom flap.
The Transformer.
Oh,
was
what
it,
have we
Terminator?
got? What's he sent me? Issue 112, March 19th, 1991. I don't want to hear anything out of your lips before I've grabbed you and submerged you into the cultural landscape of March 19th, 1991.
Yes, please.
March, traditionally a dumping ground. Well, not that weekend. The Silence of the Lambs gives me the heebie-jeebies even saying it, because my mum and brother, I think they rented it, and I was like on the edge of the stairs. I was terrified. It was the concept of that film. I couldn't handle it. It still creeps me out. I struggle to even watch it now. Any memories? Silence of the Lambs.
It's one of those films that I watched way before I should have.
Oh, yeah, that will
And
stay
did
with
not-
you.
Did not get it. No,
You know,
look,
he's not in it,
yeah.
is he? Lecter's not, he's in a few scenes.
Yeah.
I like the Michael Mann film. It's Red Dragon. It's not called Manhunter.
Oh.
Manhunter, 80s film. So it's the prequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
Yeah, definitely give that a watch. But
Also
look,
with Hopkins.
no, with
Damn.
oh god, I forget his name. Anyway, it's a really cool film. Good
Jeremy Irons. No.
Tangerine Dream soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Look, if the Silence of the Lambs was a little bit too much for you at the multiplex, here's some counter programming. Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. Even as a kid seeing that at the cinema, I knew that there was a drop-off between those two films.
Funny you should say that. Turtles 2 was much more beloved for me than Turtles 1.
What?
I think it's just hey man, I was all of about 6 years old. Okay.
Look, this isn't the one where they're time traveling into
No, that's 3.
That's 3. Why was there
Feudal
such a
Japan.
drop-off? I mean, this was barely out of the cinema before it was straight to VHS. The first one was a smash hit, no? Like a smash hit.
I think Turtles had a big drop off.
Yeah.
We regard them as the juggernaut that killed GI Joe, but
Hmm.
they didn't last that long before Power Rangers took up the mantle. I don't know what took off after that, but like all the Turtles copies kind of diluted the pool. There was Biker Mice from Mars, there was Street Sharks.
Oh,
et
Biker Mice
cetera.
from Mars, amazing.
Battletoads.
The more I think about it, we were so lucky we got such a good Turtles film. That is a miracle they made that film in that way. At that time, and thinking about what they could have done, that is a bold, creative choice. It's so real world. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Well, look.
Sam Rockwell.
Oh,
Unbelievable. As a
Stop
kid.
it! You're blowing my mind. Sam
What-
Rockwell
rewatch-
as what character?
as one of the Foot Clan like punk kids.
Yes!
He's amazing.
Oh my days. So good. But look, you come out the multiplex, get yourself into Tower Records and pick up REM Out of Time. That's a hella album. And then stumble into the comic
All the big
shop.
singles. Sorry, mate.
Oh, that's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Reading Avengers issue 332 featuring Doctor Doom.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's done it.
Now, toys, Turtles were still big in the toy shops as well as Beanie Babies. I mean, they're doing
This
the
is when it
rounds.
started, eh?
Yeah, they're doing the rounds now. But look, the arcades were still a thing, and there was only one cabinet you were playing in March 1991, and that was Street Fighter 2. Tell me, who was your guy? You don't need to tell me, I already know. It was Ken.
It was Ken.
I mean, are
Then
we
it
just
became Blanca.
saying...
Come on.
Was it just Ken for everyone? Should we just say that it was Ken for everyone?
No. The Ryu clone, essentially, like in the eyes of the the naive or the uneducated, like he is a little too close
Uninitiated.
to what would ostensibly be the face of Street Fighter. Like Ryu is absolutely, or Ryu, as we used to call
I can
him.
tell you who you never picked, though. Okay, so sometimes you may have played as Guile, for sure, yeah? I think sometimes I even played as Chun-Li. There's certain ones in that there's absolutely no chance you're playing as Dowsim. Because...
No, I got you there, dude. Like, the characters that had a shtick were the ones that got my focus, because I couldn't play the game for shit. I just wanted to see, my character do the stretchy arms and.
So in America, it would have been quarters. In the UK, it would have been 50p's. What was it in SA?
Well, you're gonna laugh. It was 20 cents.
Okay.
Which makes it essentially like, well, at the time that would have been 5 US cents.
Wow. What I mean is, if you're putting that in, you're not going to waste it on a Dowsim, probably. I mean, Blanca. I could have been known to play as Blanca sometimes. Never Ryu. Ryu, I always thought that's for pros. If you're going to be good with Ryu, you're like a pro.
He does seem Billy Basic. He seems pretty plain.
But whenever you saw the kid on the cabinet that just couldn't be knocked off the cabinet, more often than not, they were Ryu, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, E Honda. I mean, maybe a kid would have played as E Honda because of the 100-hand slap.
Any character that had a gimmick certainly got more attention from me than characters that were more straight down the line.
Okay, gimmick characters. So Dowsim. Blanca with the electric shock, is that a gimmick?
Absolutely. And the fact that he's a freaking mutant.
Yeah.
I mean, don't overlook the green skin and the hair.
Yeah. Oh my days. I just remember what was your favourite level? That's another good question. Like visually. Guile for me, the American airstrip.
F-16.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack to Guile stage is just so signature.
Sonic Boom!
What are we talking about on episode 35? Anything but the damn issue.
We ain't... Oh, God, I tell you what, man. These guys, they send me minty fresh copies. Let's see if they smell minty fresh. Let's get to the spine. Oh, my God. I'll tell you what, man. That is making me think of, like, design technology class balsa wood. You know that wood that it's almost it's so thin. It's almost like cardboard, but you'd put it through the jigsaw in design tech. It smells really nice. Tom Donaldson's carpenter?
I couldn't tell you. Good old Tommy. I don't know, with Springsteen 83 as his handle, maybe he's making guitars.
Yeah. Okay. Look, where do we even start with this cover? Because I always think this cover stands out in a lineup. 0 characters, 0 vehicles, just some kind of generic helo with a downwash. What's going on with this cover, S-Jubs? What's your memories? Does it resonate? What are you getting?
Didn't have this one, so I'm going to flip it back on you. Do you have any memories associated with 112? And look, you say no characters, no vehicles, but it is effectively one character and one vehicle. It's a helicopter, indistinguishable. You can't really.
Yeah, but it's a military. It's just a sort of a military, and yes, we know that is a character, but it actually just looks like someone bringing that helo into land, really. And it's sort of
pretty caught unawares. Like he's off.
No, I take this as more of a. I mean, I know he is caught unawares, but he's almost kind of landing it to me.
Nah, man, that gesture looks like he was.
Oh, I'm not feeling that, and I always used to think
that coma box, and then has been caught in the spotlight.
Yeah, you're taking too much of the issue into it. Yeah. The spotlight is great, but this is such a random cover because listen to this. In this issue, ninja fighting, the war continues, and the body count rises. And then you get that cover.
Hey, I thought I was supposed to do the synopses.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
I like this cover, and it definitely does stand out. You got a load of Joe books on the deck, on the flight deck. This one does stand out because of the absence of things. You know, you're not getting any named Joes. You're not getting a toy that you can buy. It's more of like a military book. I like the Purple Knight. What have you got to say?
You like it, I don't. And Lee Weeks is the cover artist. And I guess I just don't like vehicles having their proportions morphed. I think in
the
order
underbelly.
in order to divorce this from what it actually is in the issue, which is a Huey transport helicopter, sort of the famous Vietnam War era Huey Iroquois.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, this kind of dysmorphs it to like having this very bulbous underbelly, and the skids are pushed way back. I mean, it's like we're looking through a fisheye lens.
Yes, but that's what I like. Like a wide angle.
But the character isn't distorted. Whoever's on the ground, he's proportional, but the helicopter is oversized and like chibi. Like it's.
Can you not feel the downwash? You're not getting that?
Yeah. I mean, the smoke effect is one thing, but the sort of the harsh, like I suppose, like explosive lines on the deck of, like, I don't know, dirt being kicked up and being flung quite aggressively. That's cool. Like all that scatter is cool.
Yeah.
But
it's very cool.
It's just the weird proportion of the helicopter that hurts it for me. Like the skids are way small and hidden by this bulbous body of a helicopter that
sometimes they can look bulbous from that angle though. Sometimes, and
I need the character to be bigger and closer to us.
God, see, wow, we're different on this one, listener. We're different because I like the proportions. I like the size of the character. I like how mine is a newsstand because that's cool. I love the 90s tastic corner box as well with a loaded up Snake Eyes. I'm digging the cover. I'm digging it. I would love to have picked that up off the newsstand, the spinner rack. And very importantly, do you own it?
I do not own it. Maybe that's part of my bias. If I had this book to hand, it would make a difference.
Yeah.
But what happens in this issue? We are dealing with Who's the Hero in issue 112. We've got a ninja team sneaking into Benzene City. This is after Cobra's taken control of the country. They're trying to gather intel. They're being supported by Stalker out in the desert with his team. And they're being also supported by a third team of armored vehicles, which they don't know, but it's been taken over by a revolutionary group led by a guy called Faoud, who's got the lead vehicle, I suppose. He's got taken hostages, like the Joes are basically under armed guard and being forced to do his bidding. Anyways, Snake Eyes and the ninja team stumble upon the Saw Viper and manage to deal with him and steal a helicopter, head into the desert. Meanwhile, Stalker's team are trying to take the heat away from the ninja team. They break the radio silence. And twice in this issue, a new Joe called Cool Breeze attempts to lay down his life. And he, on the second attempt, he actually succeeds. So we have a death in this issue. Yeah.
Dude, good synopsis. Fantastic synopsis. You got three teams. You got the recon team, the intelligence team, and the armor team. And you laid it all out for us. Although, look, I was very excited to read this issue, but when I opened it up, I was treated to a lovely Game Boy ad.
Hello.
Contra.
I've never seen that Game Boy ad in my life.
Isn't it
on the Game Boy?
Yeah, but look, isn't it just joyous advert? I just love 90s advertising. Look at that thing eating that Game Boy.
And Contra, like, it makes no bones of its
Contra
reference material.
Super Probotector in the UK.
It's definitely pulling on both Alien and Predator with that design.
Yeah. Look,
much like the game.
First pass on this issue, I was like, Second pass, I was like, I'm digging this issue for all of the zaniness. At first, I was like, I don't think this is good.
Okay.
Gave it another go and really like got into the kind of 90s-ness of it. Can we just start? Because I'm going to need some help. Let's just talk about Cool Breeze. Let's get into it. Cool Breeze. When I told you what issue we were doing, you just replied, Cool Breeze! Elijah F. Green looks like an X-Men dude, mates with Cable or Forge for my money. He stumbled into a GI Joe book. I think does he appear briefly in the issue before? But look, he's created to die. He's been invented to die. He's got such a cool 90s look. I mean, maybe this is where GI Joe should have gone. Are those gauntlets, are they bionic? Are they assisted? Do they make him strong? Because you can see his forearm there. What's going on? Give me some help. No figure, obviously. No figure.
Obviously.
But look, we say obviously, but he's quite a, he's not just a dude, he's been designed. He's had a lot of thought put into that design. For my money.
He has a sword, Ben. He has a sword. What the actual...
Okay, he's got a... but that's a kind of... is that a samurai type thing? I mean, look, that is... it's a look for sure. Now, can you just explain what's going on with the arms?
No, I cannot.
You can't.
It is absolutely doubling down on like the Cable arm. It's
and that backwards cap.
That's silver. Yeah, well, his head is very much Apone from Aliens.
Yeah.
The arms are absolutely Cable or Kane or any other cybernetic character from the 90s. You know the type. Listeners, I don't need to paint the picture, but I'm going to do it anyways. It's picked out in that kind of bluish silver with the edge lighting and white. It's got the lines running sort of horizontally along the length of the arm. Like... It's
they are gauntlets.
Coded as cybernetic. Yeah, well, who knows?
Because you can see his forearm flesh. What's his primary?
Like this guy? I think this guy.
No, I don't.
No? Okay,
I don't dislike him.
The design is so polarizing then, because I think he was designed to be incredibly unlikable, but have this face turn where he dies a noble death and actually teaches Stalker something by the end.
But why make him so overly designed? Like, I like the punt, because I feel like they've put quite a lot of work into him just to kill him. He could have just been a generic green shirt or I don't know, he could have been anything, but there's a lot more to him.
Making him a walking cliche in his design of the 90s comic book.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Was this not just a hodgepodge? Like, I don't know if there's been a lot of work into his character design. It's been a cut and paste of elements from other characters from hot books. Like
but looking at it in hindsight, I don't know, I think maybe in 1991 this would have probably been like, what is going on here? But I just think you got to make these issues different. This is one issue out of 155. I just think it's interesting that they just create this character to kill him. Interesting. Maybe they could have done it more. I don't know, because he does.
We would have seen it coming so much. I think it's interesting that we're in the Benzene War, and we have already had actual card carrying, figure owning GI Joe characters being killed, and there are more to come. But they've thrown in this random, maybe to kind of throw us off the scent, maybe to kind of lull us into the feeling that the only deaths that we're going to see moving forward are unnamed Cobras and GI Joe throwaway characters that are made for the issue. Now that's something that Larry did a fair bit of, like creating characters that were basically sacrificial lambs. General Flag is an example, Mangler is an example from the Special Missions books, and now Cool Breeze. But as I said before, we are going to see more named Joe characters die in this war, so maybe this was a little like a little sucker punch. Like,
Well, you're promised death, aren't you? On the cover, the body count rises. So after what's just happened, you're probably like, but not so much really, because you don't really care about this guy being offed in the final panel. Now, if he had a file card, what would it be saying? Primary, what's his speciality? Reconnaissance, like intelligence? What is it?
oh jeez, samurai, cyber samurai.
I can't believe you're not jonesing for a figure of this dude. I mean, he's like, you could definitely classify him. It's 90s. It's almost ironic at this point. Cool Breeze needs a fig. No, not for you. He doesn't. I can just picture the box art. You're right, though. If you did have him as a fig, he could quite easily fit into different IPs. He could be an X-Man, kind of. But look, it was a zany time, and they were just trying stuff out. Now, he's very sassy in this, S-Jubs. Very sassy. Stalker's got zero patience for the sass. Ambush, who you are looking a little bit more like every day, is...
I have that turn of the century...
Isn't Ambush... I've got it in my notes. He's so grizzled. He's so old. Yeah. Interesting character. Interesting roll call in this book, man.
Yeah, there's a disconnect that I have always had with Ambush.
Go on.
The beard makes him look so old. He's actually bicentennial. Like he looks like he's from the 1800s.
From a different time.
Yeah, but he is an E3, which makes him a more junior Joe than most of the Joes.
No ambition. That's me. That's literally might as well just be me. You know, loads of potential, no ambition. He's just happy to be there. Wow, he is so grizzled. Do you like this little unit that they've put together?
I like that we get to see a little bit of time to shine for the almost late sneak peek. I mean, these are his last few days.
Yeah.
Well, depending on what continuity you believe in, maybe not. But as far as we're concerned in the ARA run, like this is his last assignment here with this LERP team. Stalker, another long-range recon patrolman in the form of Recoil, Ambush, and Sneak Peek. Like, I love these little small units. And Recoil and Ambush particularly don't get much shine in the ARA comic. So, more of that, please.
More of that. Do you want to switch up to the intelligence team? Let's talk about these ninjas. Guys. You know, Snake Eyes is in freaking bits. A sad Snake Eyes. Storm Shadow is like, we've got to look. Let's just stay on target. He's struggling.
Snake Eyes has spotted the Saw Viper, who most recently gunned down, among others, Doc, Heavy Metal, Thunder. I keep forgetting who died in the Rage afterwards and who was shot by the Storm Shadow, by the Saw Viper personally. But like, yeah, he's responsible for the highest kill count of Joes ever.
How do you feel about this Saw Viper? Because I love him as a villain. I love his dialogue. He's so over the top. You know, you're just jonesing for this guy to get macked, but he's a great 90s villain.
I love the fact that Tomix and Zaymot in the same bar at the same time. They're not a priority target for Snake Eyes, but they are sucking back on some death sticks, man. They both have...
Yeah, and look at all of them empties. They've been pounding booze.
I guess the invasion has gone well for the money men. Who is the chick indeed? This is intriguing to me because does Cobra have some kind of joy division? She doesn't look like she's a local Benzini girl.
No, I was Googling. I was like, oh, hang on. Is that Zarana in a new getup? Is that, well, Scarlet? I was like, it's a ninja. I was like, who is this?
That is a working girl as far as I'm concerned. Cobra flew in their own, I don't know.
Yeah.
Prostitutes, I guess.
I love
Is that
the
Cobra
inks.
Commander in the back?
Oh,
He's got a
wow.
sword, a scabbard, and a cloth rag helm.
Jeez. Yeah.
But it couldn't be. I mean,
I
once
love
again,
the
Snake Eyes
design on
Blue.
that girl. I look forward to these 90s issues. I really, really do. I love the inks. I love how the Saw Viper is drawn in pretty much every panel. He's so over the top. He's so big. His gun is so big. I just think looking back in hindsight, the different eras of this ARA book, all of them intrigue me. Look at that. I mean, honest, the heft, the 90s-ness. That is a supervillain. But he's... Well, I mean, look, when I had him as a fig,
Underwhelming.
I was troop building. I had about 3 or 4 Saw Vipers. I just saw them as, generic, heavy troopers. But this guy has a...
They were quite skinny, weren't they, Ben? They had a kind of a leanness to them, which is... It runs...
No, not heavy as in... Yeah, but I meant, just the size of the weapon that they came with.
The weapon was a joke. No, that was actually a mistake.
Okay.
I have it on good authority that the weapon was meant to be... Like, that was the 2-up of the weapon. That was the sort of the double-sized for the sculpting purposes.
It kind of worked out well... Because it's funny and it's
but
it's
at half the size would have worked out much better for the figure's thumbs, if nothing else. But yeah,
all we used to talk about was how ridiculous that weapon was, but it was quite fun.
It's taller than the figure.
Yeah,
standing on its end.
But look, I don't want everything to go to plan. That's what I love about this. You don't. That little things like that are interesting talking points. I didn't know that. And that's really cool that was a mistake and they just rolled it out with a ×2 sized weapon. Kind of makes me love it even more. Huh. I always used to play it as almost like a flak jacket. I kind of took that was bulletproof, You could never shoot my Saw Viper. But
Saw Viper was skinny, which was problematic for me. I want him to be more of a roadblock kind of heft to make him a counter to roadblock. I mean, he is the guy carrying the biggest gun. He needs to be big. The other problem with the Saw Viper is no Cobra symbol. Anytime you have a Viper that has no sigil on his person anywhere, I'm like, come on, somewhere, the bicep, the shoulder, on the armor, anywhere, just give me a symbol.
No, I'm there for that for sure. I think the symbol should have been green though, like the belt.
Sure.
That would have worked well, wouldn't it?
Oh, how cool would this have been if, just like the Alley Viper, it was sculpted into these very 90s armbands?
Yeah, you could have done that.
Best. Damn it, Hasbro.
I mean, look, you're coming... Look, this is what Emma always tells me. She's like, quit coming at me with problems. Come at me with solutions. S-Jubs is down on the Saw Viper. Are you down on the issue? I mean... Maybe they should have just given this dude a name and just had him as a new Cobra villain. What do you think about that? Would have worked better for you?
No, you know what? I like the fact that he
rising from the ranks. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. They're all types, and they are at every level in Cobra. We're not just dealing with the oligarchy. The kingpins. Like sometimes there's a really mean piece of work in the Viper cadre, and this is Saw Viper, and he's reveling it. My goodness, he's chatting up the chicks. He's firing full auto inside of a pub. Like bad dude.
Yeah, that gun is loud. I can just imagine that gun being so loud as well. It did impact how I played with him though, because I did give him this personality, and I did have him murking Joes.
What, all 3 of them? You said you army built.
But I've got so many Saw Vipers, but obviously to begin with, I just had one. And then Chief comes over, slaps the comic book on the table, and he's like, you will not believe what is happening in this book. And he showed me all the murder and death. And I was like, but how is this so? He's a trooper. He's a trooper. I don't understand. But yeah, I think there is value in giving these guys some individuality, isn't there? Making them not just these kind of faceless drones, and actually giving this guy a whole truck ton of personality is very left field, and probably no one would have seen this coming if they were reading this book back in the day. This would have been like, what is going on? Normally Vipers are fodder. I mean, that's actually something that upsets me about this issue. We see these night creepers, and I was kind of getting excited for maybe a cool fight, but it's just so one-sided. They get through them in a couple of panels, and that's the end of that squad of night creepers. And I was like, could have had a better scrap there, really.
They're very fatalistic about it. It's like, fight well and you might survive. Like, they're definitely regarding themselves as the underdogs going into this fight.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for night creepers. I was just like getting ready for a couple of pages of some good action.
I guess they are actually low-rent ninjas in the final.
Yeah.
They're high-tech, but they don't have the same level of discipline and training as a Roshikage, dyed in the wool. Like, Jinx, Storm Shadow, they lived that life. Snake Eyes did Vietnam, and then he lived that life. Like, they have so much power, these characters, that, like, I guess the Night Creepers are really just kids with throwing stars and crossbows.
Have you got anything you would like to say about the armor team in this book? Apparently there's loads of mistakes when I was researching. There's the Flint and Lady J keep swapping sides literally every panel, apparently.
Oh, inside the hammer. I find it amusing that they've got what appears to be the Rolling Thunder silhouetted in the back constantly.
Yeah.
But it's always got its missiles like in launch position.
Jeez.
Is that how you're choosing to roll out? Full nuclear.
Yeah, ready to go. Yeah, how do you feel about How do you feel about the art in this issue? Flint, how do you feel about Flint, how he's drawn?
Oh, there's another launch silo erect. Flint, how he's drawn, I like everything. The heavy inks. We're dealing with a nocturnal mission completely. So the sky is always this beautiful
purple.
Lilac purple, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of silhouetting. We've got the Raider. We've got an inside, like a cockpit shot of the Raider at one point with Hot Seat and Roadblock. Everything's very dark and kind of strategic. They're maneuvering for position, which is all very cool. There's a lot of quietness. There's a lot of talk about radio silence and not giving away your position, and then using that as a kind of a sacrifice play when you do get on the horn, because of course Cobra can zero in on you. Oh wait, no, it was more about them needing to jam Cobra's transmissions. Of course, as soon as you start jamming, it's going to draw attention to the fact that something's going on. You said Flint in particular. Is that a problem?
No, I just, you mentioned the inks. I'm definitely here for the inks in this issue. Heavy inks. Really love that. What are we meant to think happens to the Saw Viper in this particular issue? Because Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, they get into the helo, and Saw Viper's like, "What? Gonna try to take me on with your bare hands?" And that's it. That is the last panel we see. We don't see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Off panel.
Yeah,
I thought you'd get a scrap. I mean,
maybe they just ran out of pages, and they decided.
Are you meant to think
cut away?
That they kill him? I mean, we know, but yeah, interesting.
So much of what Snake Eyes does to this point is cut away from. If you think about it, like there are a lot of times where Snake Eyes just kind of has the final word on the subject, for a silent character. And we don't see him do what needs to be done. Like, he absolutely gets the opportunity to take out the Saw Viper, but we never see it. Is that a problem? Like, do you think maybe we needed that satisfaction?
I think it's a little bit confusing when they just, you pull the switch and the chopper lands and they're in it. And it's like, well, a lot's happened there. Surely, what's happened? I don't know. I'm not
guess
convinced
they want-
that's good storytelling.
Well, maybe it was just for a gimmick, and the gimmick was
because
like,
this
we need.
isn't. It's not just a saw viper, is it? So it's not like they. That panel isn't just some. Yeah, I mean, it's just strange to me that they left it like that.
Just to set up the tension at the end.
Yeah.
The helicopter like throws its spotlight on Cool Breeze, who's basically.
Well, let's talk about that. Should
offering
we talk
himself up.
about?
And then we don't know if it's Joe Cobra, but it's actually the ninjas. So they must have killed the Saw Viper and taken over the chopper.
Do you want to talk about Cool Breeze's exit? Do you want to talk about that? I mean,
I just want to quickly query something for you that confused the hell out of me. Why did the ninjas throw all their weapons off the roof? So a helicopter's coming in.
I'm on that panel right now.
They finished off the night creepers. And so Storm Shadow says, quick, throw your weapons off the roof. All of them.
Whilst punching that dude on the deck.
And so the helicopter shows up. Ha! There go your infiltrators. Look at them. They aren't even armed. So Saw Viper's thinking it's an easy target.
Yeah.
So he flies closer. And then they jump him. So they basically threw their weapons off so they would lure the helicopter in. Like, that's a bit of a thin piece of logic there.
You're
Storm Shadow.
really assuming a lot there, aren't you?
Yeah, this
What
is
is
Saw
the
Viper. He
dude-
likes an
Wait.
easy target.
So, yeah, quick, throw your weapons off the roof, all of them. And who's up on the roof? Is that Jinx on the roof throwing the crossbow?
Scarlet?
Ah, Scarlet. Yeah. That's great. She's lazzing that thing. I mean, it's just
I go through about one a week.
Yeah, you could just put it down. It's like,
Jeez.
monkey see, monkey do. Cool Breeze, let's talk about the exit. Interesting, because this rarely happens. You actually get pretty much the cover in panel form. Are you a bit more happy about how it's drawn there? No, he's not.
It's almost exactly the same. It sort of suffers from the same issue, and it's really pushing the dysmorphia of the helicopter.
As a reader, you are probably thinking this is the moment that Cool Breeze is gonna die, but of course he actually makes it through this.
It got me, Ben. I've read this issue before a handful of times, and I thought this was the moment he died.
You forgot, right?
I had forgotten.
Interesting.
We see
To be
the
fair,
M60.
what was Yeah,
we
what
see
was
the
I
helicopter
thinking?
coming in, and turns out it's Snake Eyes holding the pig, holding the machine gun. So the implication is made clear at that point that he took out the Saw Viper, took his gun and the helicopter. But I did not remember that Cool Breeze's demise comes later.
Oh, there's some good art in this, man. The just as Jinx is getting out of the chopper, that cockpit shot.
Oh yeah.
Wow. And it's all like smoking. That's so cool. Woohoo!
Is
That-
the body in the foreground Saw Vipers? Looks like they smashed out a couple of his teeth before.
It doesn't look like him. I don't know. Oh, it's rough though.
Like this poor Telly Viper. What did he do?
Look, I mean, look, and the next panel. Look at Cool Breeze. Look at that character. There's so much going on there. Wow. Welcome to 1991, baby.
In living color, baby.
Yeah.
He's absolutely a Hawaiian's brother.
So look, Stalker's been riding him all goddamn issue, and then what happens? Well, someone is calling me. That's what's happening. I'll turn that off.
Yeah, Ben. Handled by world.
Look, what happens after riding him for the whole issue? Cool Breeze actually takes a bullet for Stalker. Do you feel like Stalker is appreciating that fact?
I feel like Stalker's tragedy is this has happened to him more than a few times. He's got survivor's guilt.
Yeah. Okay.
You know? He gave the command decision to leave Snake Eyes behind in the issue that we read previously, issue 56. he got hit trying to get Snake Eyes out. So Snake Eyes then did a holding action to keep Cobra at base so that Stalker could get medevaced. Like, this guy is the bleeding heart of G.I. Joe. He's the philosophical center, and he's like G.I. Joe's sort of sad sack. You know?
Yeah.
It all resides with Stalker.
I'm just reading these last panels to see how Stalker's handled this. And yes, there are some nice moments. Take it easy, Cool Breeze. No, kid, you aren't crying. I mean, yes, okay, he is sad. Hey, what do you think about the panel with Cross Country standing there with all those like M16s with the helmets on? That's quite poignant, isn't it?
Larry Hama introducing the empty boot ceremony. It's made a reappearance a number of times in later issues. You know, as we move into the IDW run, plenty more of these burials. But,
Right.
yeah, we're seeing it right before our very eyes, and in a very understated way. They're not drawing much attention to it, but Cross Country is absolutely like paying his respects. And we're seeing the helmets. We're seeing Quick Kick's bandana. We're seeing, I think, Thunder's helmet, Crazy Legs, Breaker, Heavy Metal. Gosh, maybe Doc, some kind of head. No, Doc's is the one in the foreground. Okay, then Crankcase at the back and Heavy Metal. Okay, so yeah. Our losses to date.
Yeah. I mean, this is...
Quick Kick a pair of loafers. Have you noticed that? Like the character who famously wears no footwear. He's got instead of an empty boot, he's got some slippers.
A Quick Kick was a harsh one, man.
Yep.
Was there just no place for him in modern GI Joe? They were never going to make him part of Ninja Force.
That's a shame. I think Larry held off. Maybe he was in the meeting when Ninja Force was being rolled out, and they were like, "Here, Larry, here are the designs. Make up some backstories." He was like, "What? No Quick Kick? Oh no, Quick Kick's being phased out. Oh well, in that case, let me phase him out of the comic book. Because if he's not going to be on Ninja Force, then he's got no relevance."
You can't ninjafy Quick Kick. You can't have a version 2 Quick Kick. You can't. Or could you have done? I don't know.
They did it with Bazooka. They did it with Leatherneck.
I tell you what, though, they don't you dare put a top on that man.
No. Well, they've done it. Unfortunately, Ben. I mean, did you? I suppose you've never seen his Bruce Lee Game of Death appearances. He's got like a modern era figure that's got a gi. I think it's black with yellow striping.
Okay.
And he's got sneakers. He's got like Onitsukas.
No, not interested. I need to see his ribs, man. I need to see his ribs and his cut abs. Look, man, they are killing named characters off. You know, often many at a time. If you were reading this run month to month, you may be spiraling. I mean, this is the first time this has ever happened, really. It's wild. It's I can't really say I was there reading it month to month at that time, but clearly a shake-up in the Marvel offices. You know, were these notes that were coming to Larry? What do you think was the genesis for this death toll? Not enough cost.
Yeah. Look, Larry always was quick to point out that a war book with no death is morally bankrupt. You know, you can't do that. You can't have everyone come out alive. So there was an ethical imperative there, but also, I guess, phasing out the action. You know, in the cynical sense, just like Transformers the movie, killing off characters, you had to phase out old product. And if these characters are filling up the roster and not receiving any new figures, let them go. Stop having them clog up your comic book.
Do you feel like...
Is there a comic book where there were more characters? Larry's having to juggle all of this massive roster.
It does feel like it recenters the run a little bit. Like, a little bit meandering before, and then this is definitely a... key issues. I hate that word, but there are a couple of key issues with this arc that kind of like, I don't know, almost like recenters you.
I'm sure it's the Game of
did you
Thrones
read the-
effect.
Did you read the letters
like
page?
everyone could potentially be a victim.
Did you read the letters page?
I did. Nothing
It's just
stood out
'cause-
to me though.
Oh no, there was only just one thing where it was interesting that I think it's Rob Young, where he hasn't read it for ages and he's coming back to it. And one of his points is, you're still dragging out the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow soap opera? Jeez! I thought that business was finished long ago in issues 26 and 27.
Oof, welcome back, Rob. Jeez.
Welcome back. Yeah, and very, Snake Eyes soap opera is almost the glue that's holding this thing together at this point. But
there was something that piqued my interest, actually, now that you mention it.
Go on.
There was a letter from Wendy, who's writing from within People's Republic of China in 1991. Incredible.
Yeah.
And Wendy's got wonderful questions, expresses themselves very well. Last name and address withheld by request, which, I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe there was some fear of
Yeah.
what it meant to write into a United States-based comic book, military book,
Well, look, I still don't know what you really think about this United States military comic book issue. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it now in 2025?
Well, like I said, it did give me a sucker punch of like forgetting when exactly Cool Breeze dies.
Yeah.
It's not the overt moment. It's a far more subtle, far more downplayed, but devastating moment. Instead of going out in a blaze of glory, he catches a stray bullet, and just his last couple of lines of dialogue, like, I'm not crying, am I, Stalker? No, kid, you're not crying. And then dies off panel.
Yeah.
Stays with you. And Ambush getting a moment of pathos. Let me actually call that up so I don't mangle his words.
It's a good trope, isn't it? You're like, is this the moment he's going to die? You have a feeling that somewhat a character might be dying, and the big dangerous thing that where it makes sense maybe that he's going to die, and actually they do a nice little poignant kind of more heroic. He's actually taking a bullet for someone. It's a nice poignant note at the end of this.
Yeah, for
issue.
A throwaway character who, love or hate him, he does allow the story to play some notes that like GI Joe perhaps needed to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Ambush, after Cool Breeze makes the sacrifice play the first time.
Whoa.
He says, we'd better get going or the kid's sacrifice will be in vain. And then he turns to Stalker and says, what's the matter, Stalker? Don't you think the kid is funny? So, like, you've been riding this guy the whole mission, trying to get him to basically class up and, I don't know, be a member of the team. And now he's doing this thing, and you're like, you didn't even get a chance to tell him, like, okay, you're not a joke after all, Cool Breeze. You're the man.
Yeah, he gives Stalker his dog tags. Stalker, here's my dog tags. Can't have him identifying me, can we? Cool Breeze, what the hell are you doing? Jeez.
Comics code, Ben. Comics code. Can't be saying hell.
Oh, no. No, I added that in. What
Nice.
the... Yeah. Well, look.
I'll tell you something that jumped out at me right in the back of this book. Do you have a print ad?
Yes! The video game! What is this? The NES game? Must be.
Yes.
Yeah, that is quite a terrifying photo. I mean, yeah. I did. I read all
It
of
is
that.
an actual posed studio shot of Cobra Commander, like hiding behind some ferns. You're not the only one waiting for GI Joe.
Oh, hang on a
advertising.
minute. I'm viewing that as a child in there. Are you saying that's a grown man?
Sorry, yes.
Wow, that's actually even more terrifying. For some reason, I thought that was like a kid in dress up. Okay.
You're a strange boy.
I think
Well,
we're
look,
lucky
it
they
is-
didn't do a live action movie in 1991.
Yeah. It's not the best cosplay, that's for sure, but I love the amateur charm of it, to be honest.
Yes.
Somebody signed off on this and called it good. Like, yeah, that's our concept. We'll bash it
It
out in a
reminds me
day.
of those trading cards, with the live action.
Very much so. This was probably maybe this was the inspiration for those live action commercials that were to follow. Like, we can do this. Let's get actors and body doubles and stuntmen, put them in costumes, do some mock-up vehicles. Do you
No,
have
I
any
don't
memories
have-
of this video game?
I do not. No, I do not. I never had a NES. I feel like you have memories up the wazoo of this game. I feel like this is a big. Yeah, you've played this. You've completed it. I
There is nothing that I'm hunting more fervently in this world
Okay.
than the original cartridge.
Wow. What?
And
Hard to find?
Hard to find.
At a good price.
Preferably, I would like the Famicom cartridge, not the
Okay,
NES.
yeah. Right.
But look, the NES I could find fairly easily
Yeah.
for a price. But Famicom, I've actually reached out to my childhood friend when I was 8 years old. No, I didn't reach out when I was 8 years old. Let me rephrase. So I had a childhood friend called Lyle. He had a younger brother called David. Lyle's not on any kind of social media. David is. He was actually someone I worked with a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to David saying, like, listen, dude, I used to play GI Joe at your place way back when we were 8 years old. And, like, please tell me there's some dusty old box somewhere in your mother's place that contains that cartridge, because I've looked high and low.
No such luck.
No such luck. But
I think
it was worth a shot.
I think the reason that this game doesn't resonate with me is this would have been a seriously late NES release. I mean, the SNES was literally about to come out in August maybe of this year, and that often happens with consoles. Their late games are usually some of their best because the developers really know how to work for that console, usually have better graphics. So a NES was just never on my radar at all. I kind of came into console gaming at the 16-bit phase and went straight to Mega Drive and SNES, and neither of those consoles, I believe, had a Joe game. Did they? No.
Negative.
Yeah, that would have been the last one. But it's meant to be. It's actually quite well received. It's actually a good game, isn't it? It's like actually good.
Bloody good action platformer.
It got good reviews. Yeah.
And
So I would have
appreciated with time, I think, as more attention has been given to it. It
really,
plays damn well. And for a GI Joe fan, the Easter eggs are dripping. You know, like just seeing the depth of character choices that see sprites in that game. Freaking
I bet it didn't
Cobra-La
sell...
Royal Guard for crying
wow.
out loud. Toxo Vipers, the little wind-up action packs.
Yeah,
Pogos,
I bet it didn't
saddle
sell
copies.
very well because it's kind of a.
Probably that's why it's hard to
it's
find
a
a copy.
strange time to release it. Maybe the comics are already waning. Yeah.
May I just say though that it informed my understanding of what GI Joe was very early on.
Wow.
So in terms of GI Joe received media past the actual action figures and their file cards,
Yeah.
it was GI Joe the movie for me at number 1 with a bullet, and then number 2 was this video game.
Oh, I need to play it. I'll play it. What can I play it on? It's gonna have to be an emulator.
Yeah, it'll have to be.
It's not on a
as
Switch.
with any
That's
Nintendo
annoying.
game, any NES game, the plotting is wafer thin, but it does present a world where Cobra's actually on top. GI Joe is very much on the back foot, making these kind of hit and run strikes against vast Cobra bases.
Wow.
And so that idea that GI Joe was the underdog informed my play massively.
Who's the developer? Because on the Switch they've got a NES emulator that's great, but I think it's mainly it just feels like
in-house games. This would have
yeah.
been Kid Software. They were also responsible for Kickmaster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Similar color palettes to Kickmaster, actually. A lot of the same turquoises and hot pinks and like weird mid-tones, but very signature. Beautiful game. Beautiful game.
I wonder if would we
superior
have
to-
preferred it if the development, you know, they were like, oh, there's a new console coming out. Imagine it with 16-bit graphics. Oh, tantalizing.
Well, it would have put it out of my reach for a time.
Oh, okay.
I think
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, my circle of friends were not gamers. We didn't have a Sega in the household. Like, Family clones were cheap as chips, man. Very freely available. And because there was no Nintendo
I mean,
police
look, I played the
South
hell
Africa.
out of Action Force on the C64, but that would have
Okay.
been years before. I mean,
Ooh, he
that
was a
would have
retro
been-
gamer even when he was in the single digits.
Yeah, it would have been.
boy.
Phew. And we never knew if that thing would load up. I mean, you know, you'd
Tapes,
you'd
right?
sit down and you'd want to play it, but you might not be allowed to play Action Force because it wouldn't load. It was just, you know, what else do you buy from a shop? And you're sort of, yeah, you're excited, but you're like, well, I hope it works. Bizarre times for sure.
Of a coin.
Now, look, I got to get to the beach because I got to go for a coastal run before I pick up.
Gee, sorry.
Scout Walker.
Very good.
But I feel like we've discussed the heck out of this issue, and
Oh, Ben, just on the topic of your son's name,
yes.
I mentioned that your kid was called Scout, and I also kind of to Kim and said
It's not
her,
To Kill a Mockingbird.
no, but I said, yeah, he's the Scout Walker,
Yeah,
and she was like, huh? And I said, from Star Wars. And she's like,
Yeah.
what? Luke has a son called Scout Walker?
Chief actually came up with Scout Walker, and I always just was like Scout Trooper. But that was the genesis for the name for sure, and just turned out that Emma thought it was adorable. But most people say, "Oh, I love that book. I studied it for my English GCSE." I'm like, no, what? No.
Get with the program, man. I'm a Gen
But
Xer.
he's not really happy with his ink on me because the other kids have got, well, their actual names and things, and he's like, well, what is that? He wants, you know, he's like, no, get Optimus for me, or, you know.
Done with Return of the Jedi yet? Well, give
No,
it
he
time.
will be, but I'm going a different route. I'm just letting him lead the way, and at the moment he is Transformers crazy, specifically Dinobots. But
Yep. Oh yeah.
yeah,
That
they're coming thick and
that
fast.
bug has bitten indeed, and it ain't letting go.
Right.
On the topic of a Scout Trooper, though, May the 4th came and went, and I was at a toy show, and some members of the 501st were there.
Oh wow.
The Scout Trooper was a pretty snappy cosplay. That was
Oh yeah.
amazing look.
Yeah,
Only
for
pipped
sure.
by a very accurate Boba Fett, even down to like the little like flashing red LEDs
Ooh.
on the
Spurs.
chest armor.
Spurs on Boba Fett on the boots on the.
No, I don't know.
They
No, I
do
don't
jingle
think
and
so.
jangle. I mean, they do. In Empire Strikes Back, you can always hear those things going.
I've never seen Spurs on Boba Fett's costume. Now I'll be on the lookout for that little element.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Chasing Cobra,
Right.
episode 35.
Until next week. Yo, Joe.
Cobra.
Cobra.
Yeehaw!